Hey guys, welcome to another edition of Win the Day Planner Content Series. Today, we are so excited to welcome back Dr. Laurel of Bay Laurel Athletics, and I forgot to mention this last time, a adjunct professor, or what would we call you, at Stanford University? Who cares what she is at Stanford University, the distinguished university of the West Coast. So we're super excited to have Dr. Laurel back today. She's going to talk about just an introduction to mental performance and some of the pillars. And she's also going to tell you about a really cool offer that she has for you folks as listeners and users of Win the Day. So Dr. Laurel, thanks for coming back. We're excited to hear what you have to say, and the floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks for having me back. So, yeah, I'm teaching injury prevention at Stanford University as a teaching specialist. And I just got started with that class yesterday, and it's been great so far. The students were really alive, and I'm really excited for what's possible for them to actually learn about injury prevention and what all goes into that. And the cool thing is that on my last video with you, you actually got a preview to all of that without even having to take a university class for that. So that was cool. So we're going to review a little bit about what we talked about, like the 4 pillars for success in sports to increase your performance and then decrease your risk of injury. So those 4 pillars, or the 4 things you can train and develop, is the physical performance, the skill, the strategy, and the mental performance. And there is some resources available. We'll make sure those are in the show notes of where to get that framework, so you have it on an electronic resource. So out of those 4, today our topic is going to be the mental performance. What I like to call this is the mind muscle. So the mind isn't really a muscle, but it functions like one. As you train and develop this mind muscle, it actually gets stronger and works in your favor. So we're going to dissect it and talk all about it, so you really get a sense of how your mind works and what really goes into mental performance, and clear some of these questions up that you might have about it, or some of the confusion around what it really is. So I might look to the side at some notes, because I just want to make sure you get all the information today. So mental performance is the application and development of mental skills, attitudes, perspectives, strategies, and processes that lead to optimal or peak performance, well-being, and personal growth. When we talk about the mental performance, it's not just the mental skills, but it's also the personal experience that a person is having within a context. And our context is sports in this case. So what I mean by that is, say you have 2 people and they both go to Disney World, if you're on the East Coast, or Disneyland on the West Coast, right? So they could both go to Disney World, and maybe they both have a goal of riding all of the rides. And both people ride all of the rides, but the experiences can be very different, right? One can ride all the rides and have this amazing experience, have fun and excitement and joy, and be really empowered in the goal that they're setting out to do. The other person can ride all the rides and have a miserable time. It's hot, I'm tired, but I'm committed, so I'm just going to power through it. So that's another element of this mental performance. We're not just trying to win and meet a goal, but also, like, what is the experience in the process of doing that? And I'll speak to parents and coaches a little bit. Do you want your team to just win, or your athlete to just win, or do you actually want them to have joy, fulfillment, and a sense of success in the process? And most people are gonna pick that, right? The other Disney World, Disneyland example I can give is, 2 people have the same goal. One's really fired up, one's riding all the rides, one's having a great time. The other one is miserable, hot, tired, hungry, thirsty, and then they're just like, I'm going to quit, forget this, see you later, bye. So that can be also another scenario of how the experiences can actually shape the output or the result that's happening. So when we look at that, we can kind of dial that into the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system that kind of come into play. That's that rest and digest, or the fight and flight you may have heard of. And we actually use that in mental performance to help an athlete navigate their own nervous system and teach them exactly how to navigate their nervous system and those systems to have a winning experience and a fun and joyous one in the process. So a little bit of history here. Mental performance in sports has actually been around since the late 19th century and early 20th century, but it didn't really gain momentum until the 1960s and 70s, where it gained some momentum. But today, it still hasn't gotten much more momentum than that. And the momentum really hasn't taken off. And how I know this is I did an unofficial survey of a sports team that had 90 players on it, a professional sports team, and only about 10 players, or only about 10%, utilized the mental performance staff actually made available by their team. So they have a mental performance staff on their team, and only about 10% actually utilize the mental performance. So as you can see, there's this whole big opportunity to utilize the mind muscle. Let's see. So I'm going to go into what mental performance is not. So mental performance is not about diagnosing or treating mental disorders. It's outside of the context of problems, disorders, and diagnoses. So we're under the context that there's nothing wrong with your brain. There's nothing that needs to be fixed. We're just looking at the mental performance. How do you perform better with what you already have? We work with therapists, and we let therapists be therapists, and we do refer out if there is something that needs to be addressed in a therapeutic sense. Mental performance can be therapeutic, but we work together with therapists to help an athlete in whatever needs that they want. But when parents are like, I'm not sure if my student will want to do this, I explain to them, like, this is not diagnosing or treating anything. There's nothing wrong with you. We're just helping to build your mind muscle, the most powerful muscle that you actually have. So with that, most kids and young athletes are thrilled to actually see what's possible by training and developing what I call the mind muscle. So the other thing is that a lot of people think that mental performance is, just motivation, visualization, and breathing techniques. And while these are really helpful techniques, these techniques actually have some pitfalls associated with them. And the pitfalls can actually leave an athlete confused even more and struggling even more. So it's important that we go beyond these pitfalls and not fall into them and have it self-sabotage us. So I'll go through a few of these pitfalls pretty quickly. So motivation is one. Some people think that someone just needs to be more motivated, especially a young athlete. They just need to be more motivated for whatever they're doing. And if they're motivated, then they're going to perform better and win better. So actually, like in the medical research, it has shown that motivational intervention has actually not produced behavior change. Giving people more motivational speeches, videos, reading resources, that actually didn't have a behavior change. And they were looking at exercise compliance in a lot of these studies. They didn't have any more exercise compliance by giving them a motivational intervention. So it's not just about giving them a pump up speech and motivation. When we look at visualization, the pitfall here, like visualization can be a good start and it can be a good tool, but the big pitfall is when an athlete visualizes something and then they're in the moment and they're like, well, I visualized it, so it should happen like this, and this is what should happen. When it actually doesn't happen like that, they only have one brain pathway to go with, and then they don't know what to do. They're like, well, how do I, where do I go if I only visualize this and I don't know now what to do? Then they're trying to think in the moment of what am I going to do with the situation that I'm dealing with in order to win, but then they don't have as many brain pathways to actually get success out of that one moment. So that can be like a really big pitfall. If only the only thing you do is visualization, then in the moment that you need to pull something else, you don't have something else available to pull from. So we have to be really careful with that one. Then the breathing techniques. Breathing techniques are a really good way to stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system, but the pitfall is it doesn't really have a lasting carryover and it doesn't really fix the underlying cause. So why is the person under this pressure, stress, overwhelm, or anxiety? Like you can breathe to kind of mitigate it, but it's not actually going to like fix the problem. So we have to kind of go beyond that and actually dive into what is the source of the stress, pressure, overwhelm, or anxiety, kind of clean that up, get rid of some blind spots there, and then they're not going to really need these breathing techniques to calm their nervous system as much. So the breathing techniques can be a little bit of a band-aid approach that doesn't really get deep enough to solve the problem that we're trying to solve. So with that said, we'll go into what mental performance is. So mental performance is creating a strong foundation for mental performance to actually be built upon. So that's what I do with my athletes is we actually create this really solid foundation without a lot of gaps that can be built upon. It's a creative process. It's a process where we learn the ability to actually navigate the nervous system that I talked about a little bit. I think the biggest benefit is uncovering what I call a blind spot or a glass ceiling. So I'll talk about a glass ceiling. So it's like you have a glass ceiling, you can't see it, but it's constraining and it holds you back from going to that next level or doing that next thing. And the thing is, you don't even know it's there because it's glass, you can't see it, but it's there and it's going to hold you back. And every person, every athlete is going to have a blind spot. And only when you're able to identify it, then you're able to break free of it. So every athlete that comes to me, I don't know what their blind spot is. And it's a discovery process. And we're discovering it together. So I don't know what it is, but whenever I see it, I'm like, there it is. And I point it out and then we're like, okay, let's dive in, deal with this blind spot and then get rid of it. So let's see, I'll give you a couple of examples here. Like one athlete, her blind spot was, my dad calls me a champion. If I don't win the championship, then he's not proud of me. Another athlete was, I'm going to disappoint my parents. There was a lot of layers to that. Another athlete says, well, I hurt my knee in the past and I can hear some different noises for my knee. So I'm always going to have this knee problem. I'm always going to be limited by this knee. This knee problem is going to limit me. So every athlete's going to have a different blind spot. And when we actually look at the blind spot, discover it, and dive into it, we can shatter that glass ceiling and then anything is possible. And for the sake of time, I'm not going to, go too much into that because we could probably spend a whole day on that. Another thing is actually learning how to get your head in the game. A lot of coaches say, get your head in the game, but they don't really know how to coach you how to get your head in the game, have focus. And so they're like these blind spots can have your brain can have these programs running in the background and you think your head's in the game, but this program is running in the background, taking some of your attention and you don't even know that it's there. So when we differentiate what program is running in the background, then we can say, then the athlete knows, is my mental focus on the game or is it in this background program? But we have to discover what the background program is to see, is it the background program or is your head in the game? And when we can actually differentiate that, that's when the athlete can actually get their head in the game. But there's this discovery process of what is running in the background. If you never discover what's running in the background, you never can differentiate if your head's in the game or not. Um, there's this evaluation of the experiences. That's another topic. Today's society, we have a lot of information coming at us from the internet. So how to distinguish, information from experiences. Like I said, that's a whole nother topic. So we're gonna table that for now. And then mental performance is actually helping people make decisions, how to make a confident decision, and not just make the decision, but manage the impact of the decision from the result that they get on the other side, whether it's positive or negative. I tell a lot of parents, do you want your kid to just have positive results, or do you want your kid to be able to actually navigate any result that's they get in life, right? And that's part of it, is navigating this failure process. So I use 3 different aspects of science for my mental performance coaching programs. These 3 aspects are neuroscience, psychology, and ontology. So neuroscience is the nervous system, the structure and function. Psychology is the study of the mind and the behavior, and ontology is the study of the nature of being. So we have this function of your nervous system and your brain. We have behavior change from the psychological perspective, and then who you are as a human being from the ontological perspective. And I think that these 3 perspectives makes the best program. So when you're looking for someone, I would really recommend looking at someone that offers all 3 of these as part of the program. Obviously there's tons of benefits of mental performance, character development, reducing pressure, stress, overwhelm, and anxiety, improving self-esteem, developing a sense of fulfillment and satisfaction, improved confidence, enhanced physical performance. I've had students I've had one student reduce her 5K time by 4 minutes within 4 weeks of mental performance coaching. I've had gymnasts increase their scores to the best scores that they've ever had in just a few weeks. So not only does it help the, mental and emotional experience, there's actually physical results. I've had people PR quicker than they could even imagine when they get rid of some of those blind spots and those glass ceilings. So the evidence is really on the table. The other thing that is so important is student athlete suicide is the 3rd leading cause of death for student athletes. It's a silent killer. It's preventable. This stuff will help to mitigate suicide, which is ever prevalent in our society right now. And it is real, but this mental performance can really give young athletes better coping strategies to deal with, which is, pretty amazing to take a stand against student athlete suicide until we don't have to deal with that anymore. So I hope that gives you a really good overview of what it is, what it's not, and all the benefits associated with that. And I hope you got a lot of value out of that today.
Yeah, Dr. Laurel, that there's so many aspects of mental performance, and I think you hit the nail on the head when you talked about not only the like how wide array of different areas of mental performance, but all the different benefits for student athletes and just students in general, just people in general, like building up some of these skills and putting some of these tools in your toolbox can help you on and off the court, on and off the field, in the classroom, out of the classroom. So I think that's really, really important. Dr. Laurel, this is important too. You mentioned that any of our members could visit your site and put in a promo code. You're going to offer a promo code for our users for your 6-week package. Why don't you talk a little bit about that and maybe where they can find that information?
Yeah, so I have a 6-week coaching program. It's once a week. You spend an hour with me, 1-to-1. You get a distinction each week. You get homework. You go out and in life and work on these skills. At the end of the program, you have 6 different distinctions or 6 different skills with any problem in life, not even just in sports, but any problem in life. You can either go 1 through 6 through these distinctions, or you can do it like a la carte. You can just pick one and use it on anything, and it's going to help you. So it gives you this, the program's very sustainable. You do the program and then you have the benefit of it that it's ongoing. So you don't need that constant support after that. So the 6-week program 1-to-1 is like just the best program. And I am offering a $600 discount, which is a lot. The promo code is GIFT 600. So GIFT 600, GIFT 600. And you can just sign up on my website. It's baylaurelathletics.com. And you just go put in the promo code, and it should just automatically put in the discount, and you're able to schedule all online.
Wow, that's fantastic. We appreciate you doing that. Athletes, parents, if you are looking for some sort of peak performance training, check out Dr. Laurel at baylaurelathletics.com. Put in promo code GIFT600 and get your session scheduled today. Dr. Laurel, it's been a pleasure as always. Thanks so much, and we look forward to having you back in the near future.
Thanks, Coach.